Welcome to this session on unit sequence groups. Firstly, what are these unit sequence groups? Unit sequence groups define the physical handling units of the product and in what order these units are converted. Let's simplify this with a simple example. In our Contoso demo data, you got an item called D365 which is a home speaker. This home speaker is typically stored in the inventory as eaches. Okay, and from the physical handling of it, if you look at this, typically these home speakers come in boxes, and you see here this, let's assume this is a box in which the home speaker comes in. So each box can fit only one speaker, and when you take them into pallets, for example, if you place an order for 8 pieces, then they come in a particular pallet. So one pallet will be delivered by the supplier, and on that particular pallet you're going to have 8 pieces of your home speaker. So this is how physically this particular item is handled. So you will be able to define this in the system through unit sequence groups. So I would also like to give you another example from my implementation experience. Let us go to this example. So we implemented D365 system to one of the brewery companies. So they purchase alcoholic and non-alcoholic beverages. Out of them, let's take an example of this particular beer bottles that come in crates and pallets. So the customer wanted to store these as eaches. So the inventory unit is each for this, and they typically come in cases. So cases are crates, whatever you call them. So in a particular crate, you're going to have 20 eaches of these bottles. And whenever we place an order for these bottles, certainly they don't just come like these crates, right? These crates or cases. So they typically come on a pallet, which is this. On a pallet, you're going to have, let's say, 4 cases of these bottles. So this is how physically these items are handled. In order to define this, we will be able to use unit sequence groups. So the question is, why do you have to define this in the system? Is it just for information purpose? No, not really. So there is a lot of functionality available with the unit sequence groups. So I just want to give you a little bit of theoretical understanding here now, and then we'll see some of this in the system. So I discussed with you in one of the sessions about license plates, right? So license plate is nothing but any container or any box or carton or anything in which you may have your items, and you will stick a specific unique sequence number to that particular box, and that is nothing but your license plate number. So now you have got this 20 bottles of this particular beer in that particular box. Then you may stick a license plate number to that, right? So similarly, if you got 4 cases on a pallet, you might want to stick a license plate number to even that particular pallet. That will give me an understanding that this license plate number has 4 cases of so and so products. 4 cases are nothing but, let's say, 80 bottles of so and so beverage. So like this, you'll be able to define your unit sequence groups through which system can generate the license plate numbers also based on the unit sequence groups. Okay, so let's get back to the PPT now quickly. There's one additional point that I want to just give a bit of understanding for you. The unit sequence group should include units of measures that range from the smallest to the largest unit. So if you take this example, when you're creating your unit sequence groups, what you do is you'll start from the lowest unit, which is each, and then you will define your other unit, which is your case. So you'll define a case as your second unit, and third unit you will define that as a pallet. So this is how you handle your items physically within the warehouse, and that is how you provide in your unit sequence groups. Now what do you do is, after defining your unit sequence groups, you'll be able to tag your unit sequence group to your product. Okay, so let us see that now in the system. Let us now look at the system and then understand how do you create the unit sequence groups and how do you use them. I'm getting into the advanced warehouse management module. So I've got this warehouse management. Within that, if you go to the warehouse tab, you got the unit sequence groups here. This is where you create your unit sequence groups. So I'm not going to create a new one right now. Let's examine the data that is available in the console as we generally do. I've got this each PL. So this is a unit sequence group ID that is created. And this is, as the naming convention, through the naming convention, you can understand this is used for products which are handled like eaches and then go into the pallets. So you see the line number 1 here, there it is defined like the first one is each, the smallest one is each, and the largest one is pallet. So this is how the unit sequence group is created. So if you want to create a new unit sequence group to meet your requirements, you get started with the new here. What we will do is we'll create a new sequence group for each case and pallet. So this is how you create your unit sequence group ID, and start with the lowest one. In this case, we want to start with the each. Then you go on with the next one, which is your case. Okay. So I don't have a unit called case. Let us go and create a new unit. Right. So I'm choosing the case here, and then the third one is pallet. Okay. So this is how you create the new unit sequence group. That's pretty simple, as we do for many configurations within the D365. Now, what we do is, as we generally do, let us leverage the Contoso demo data that is available, through which we will understand how these would work. I'm not going to use this unit sequence group now, but in our hands-on experience, we are going to use this unit sequence group ID later. Okay, so let us pay attention on this each pallet, which is the one that we were taking as an example for D365 item. Now what I'll do is I go to the product information management. So let's go to the product information management and released products. Let us search for the product D365. Right, so this is a high-end speaker. I thought it is a home speaker, but yeah, it's a high-end speaker. And you scroll it down under warehouse tab. Right, under warehouse tab, if you see it, you have got this unit sequence group ID, which is set to each pallets. So through this, system will understand that this item is handled in eaches and pallets. And one more thing that you have to remember is, when you have the unit sequence group selected here, by the time you have to have your unit conversions specified. So otherwise, system doesn't know like how many eaches can come in one particular pallet. So I go to the unit conversions here, and already we have the unit conversions for this product as part of the demo data, which says one pallet is equal to 50 eaches. So close this. So this is how you set up the unit sequence group for your item. So if you're creating a new product and that is used for the advanced warehouse purposes, then it is mandatory field for you to define. So the moment that you select a storage dimension group that is enabled for advanced warehouse management process, system will ask you to select your unit sequence group that you have to provide. Done. So we understand how do you associate a product with its unit sequence group. Now what do we do is, let us go to the purchase order and accounts payable, purchase orders. Let us create a new purchase order now and then see how things would work here. I created a new purchase order already. I'm just trying to leverage this. Okay, just give me a minute. So this is the purchase order that I've already created, 429. I've just created a header. I just want to reduce the the video length as much as possible to best utilize your time. I've come down and then now I include my item into this purchase order. So D0008 is the item I want to add. So I've got this site and warehouse getting defaulted. Let's change that to 2 and 24. So this is our advanced warehouse that we have been using so far. So here what I'm doing is I'm taking the quantity as, let's say, some 120. Okay. So typically when you place an order for 120, what would happen is you get from the supplier this quantity in 2 pallets, right? Because 1 pallet is equal to 50 eaches. So you typically get 2 pallets and then you get the 20 pieces separately. Okay, so let us see this now. I'm going to confirm this purchase order. So the order is confirmed. Let's take this PO number and I go to the other tab. So here, let us go back and perform the purchase receipt. So as I do the purchase receipt now and enter the purchase order number, I'll say OK and provide the product number D0008 and say OK. So the moment that you provide the D0008 item here, you see the default unit, it's getting his PL, which is pallet. So this also comes through your unit sequence groups. Let's quickly take a look into your unit sequence groups. So I went into unit sequence groups here. You look at this pallet related line and you have this flag set here that says default unit for purchase and transfer. So based on the default units that you set up, so system will be able to suggest what is the unit in which you will typically receive this item, so that warehouse worker doesn't need to keep changing the pallets and everything there, because that's a default unit. So like how you have it for purchase and transfer, you also have the default units for your production and also for material consumption, etc. So majority of the parameters are covered there, and we're going to talk about one important parameter later, that is license plate grouping. Okay, so let's get back to the purchase receiving process that we were doing. So I've got this item D0008. What I'm doing now is I'm directly reporting this as 120 pieces are being received. So no matter whether I receive them as 2 pallets and 20 pieces, or else if I directly, if I directly put it as 120 pieces and say okay, what system is going to do now is, based on the unit sequence group that is defined, system can create the work lines accordingly. Okay, so I'm doing the purchase receiving here, right? Just let's say okay. So as part of this purchase receive, we know that system will create a work so that warehouse workers can perform the put away, where they have to take the products from the receiving area and they'll put it into the respective locations. So now let's examine the work lines that are created. I go to the purchase order now and I see that warehouse and work details. Right. So what we did is we did 120 quantity receipts into the system. So if you look at this now, right. So look at this. So system created 3 lines here. The first line is for 1 pallet, and the second line is for the second pallet, and the third line is for your 20 remaining pieces. So that is how system created this quantity of 120, the work lines for this 120 quantity. So one thing I want to highlight now here is about the license plates. This is the time that you understand a bit more about the license plates, how they get generated. I will take you now to the mobile device menu item configuration. I'm talking about this because we also have to understand one important parameter called license plate grouping. So let's talk about that. So I'm going into the mobile device menu item, purchase receive. Where is it? Yeah, I've got this purchase receive, and you see here this generate license plate is enabled. So when the generate license plate is enabled on the mobile device, then when you do the purchase receive, then system can automatically generate the license plate number. So what will happen is, we will talk about the label printing and things like that later. Anything related to the print management, you will understand them in the course 2, the part 2 of this course. So because this generate license plate is enabled, system can automatically generate the license plate numbers for your 120 quantity that you received. You look at this now. For the first pallet, you got one license plate number. Where is it? Sorry. Yeah. So you got a target license plate ID called 2455. And for the second one, you got another another license plate number. And the third one, you got another license plate number. So because of the reason these two are, pallets, what you do is you have this license plate number, and you can configure the label printing, through which what you will do is you will generate this license plate number and what are the contents are available within that pallet. That's what you will generate in a simple label that can be sticked onto the pallet. So now the system generated different license plate numbers based on your unit sequence groups. So that's the point I wanted to make. In the next video, I will show you how do you use the license plate grouping option. So there is one option available within the unit sequence group called license plate grouping. So it has an impact on how your license plate numbers will get generated during the purchase receipt or any receipt. So we'll talk about that in the next video. Thank you so much. Let us understand one of the critical parameters within the unit sequence groups, which is your license plate grouping. If you see this, for each unit, this is enabled, but when it comes to pallet, this is disabled. Okay. So why is it? Let's understand. So license plate grouping determines how your license plate should get generated. Okay. And especially this works in a case where you're receiving quantity more than the specific unit. For example, in this case, in our example, what we did was we received 120 quantity. So that is 2 full pallets and then 20 pieces. So these 20 pieces, should they get grouped or not? So because of the reason we said these need to be grouped, any quantity more than that particular unit must be grouped. That's what we said. So when we said license plate grouping is enabled for this particular unit, what system did is all the 20 units that came as eaches, system created one single license plate number for it. Let us examine the work that is created. So you got your first pallet with one license plate number, you got your second pallet with another license plate number, and you got your third pallet with, sorry, the third one is not a pallet, sorry. So third one, if you see it, you got 20 eaches. So these 20 eaches are grouped into one license plate number. Okay, so that is how system would help you. Now let us assume this license plate grouping is disabled. What will happen? So let's look at this one. For pallet, the license plate grouping is disabled. And because of the reason it is disabled, every unit of what we are receiving is going to have its own license plate number. So because of the reason you received 2 pallets, system created 2 different license plate numbers, and it is quite logical, right? You got one full pallet, so you need a specific license number to be able to stick to it. And you got a second pallet, even for that you want to put up a specific license plate, because those are 2 different things. And when you take a look at your 20 eaches, even though those are 20 different pieces, generally how we store them in the inventory, how we store them in the warehouse, we store them as, you might put them into one box, because 20 pieces can't be like, lying there with different license plate numbers. So that is the reason you might tell the system, group them. So anything that is not a full pallet, even though those are like 5 pieces or 10 pieces, we typically might put them into one single, box or some sort of, tote bin or anything. So you might want to assign a license plate number to it. So that's what this license plate grouping is. If you examine this, right, because of the reason this license plate grouping is disabled, and that is the only reason you got 2 different license plate numbers for your pallets. Okay. So based on the implementation requirement, you will have to turn on or off of this particular parameter. And most cases, yes, for the lowest or smallest unit, you will enable this license plate grouping as S, right? So if you want to really take a look at the impact of disabling this, what I'll do is I quickly turn this off, and then I will show you what is the impact of this now. Okay, I'm just going to create a purchase order now by stopping this recording so that the recording length will be less. Right. So I created a new purchase order. I'll just show you this again. You got unit sequence group that has both license plate grouping disabled for both each and pallets. Now I created a purchase order with 120 quantity and I'm confirming it now. And let us take this PO number 430 and then complete the purchase receiving process. And then we'll examine how the work gets created for this now. I go to the purchase receive in the mobile device menu and say okay. So the same 120 quantity I'm going to receive now. Sorry, that's a mistake. I want to put it as 120 eaches. Right, so it is processing it, and it's actually taking a bit more time than the previous processing because it is creating more license plate numbers and everything. So let us examine this now. So the work is completed. That's why I'm shifting into the purchase orders. I come to this purchase order and then look at warehouse work details. So previously you got only 3 works, right? But now you look at this works for all these works for the purchase order. So you got these number of works created for this purchase order. So the first one is for pallet and the second one is for one full pallet. And from there on, you see each and every quantity is getting a different license plate number. Okay. So this is the impact of it. So it depends on the client requirement. If they need a different license plate number to be generated for the smallest units also, then you will disable that parameter. Otherwise, if those loose pieces like 20 pieces or 15 pieces that normally come in a box and then you want to put up a label, or else the vendor might send them as 20 different small pieces, but technically from the warehouse point of view, if you put them into one box and then you want to attach a stick a particular license plate number, then you will enable the license plate grouping for the lowest unit, right? I believe that's pretty clear. Thank you so much for watching. And if you are looking for structured learning with hands-on experience and want to become an expert of advanced warehouse management, you got a link to our course in the Udemy. Enroll into that course, and it's definitely, it's coming to you at a very, very minimal cost. Okay. Thank you for your time. See you.